In the land of Uz, there was a man named Job. He was a man of great wealth, blessed with a large family and abundant flocks. Job's heart was pure, his devotion to God unwavering. He was known for his kindness, his generosity, and his righteousness. He lived a life of gratitude, offering sacrifices on behalf of his children, seeking to honor God in everything. Job was not just a man of riches, he was a man of deep faith. But in the heavenly courts, a conversation was taking place that would change Job's life forever. Satan, the accuser, stood before God, challenging Job's integrity. "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan asked. "You've blessed him with everything, wealth, health, a loving family. But take it all away, and he will curse you to your face. He only worships you because of what you give him." God, in his wisdom, allowed Satan to test Job, but with a clear boundary. Job's life was not to be touched. The stage was set for a trial of faith unlike any other. Without warning, Job's life was torn apart. A messenger arrived with terrible news. His oxen and donkeys had been stolen, and his servants had been killed. Before Job could process this devastation, another messenger arrived. A fire had fallen from heaven and consumed his sheep, along with the shepherds. And then, a third messenger came with news even more heartbreaking. His children, all 10 of them, were dead, killed when a great wind collapsed the house they were in. Job's world crumbled. Yet in the face of unimaginable loss, Job did not scream in anger or curse God. Instead, he fell to the ground, his heart torn, but his faith unbroken. He tore his clothes, symbolizing his grief, and sat in ashes, a sign of mourning. But in the midst of his sorrow, he spoke words that would echo through time. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Even when everything was taken from him, Job's faith remained unshaken. But Satan was not finished. Seeing that Job had not cursed God in his grief, Satan returned to the Lord with a new challenge. "Skin for skin," he said. "A man will give all he has for his life. Strike his body, and he will surely curse you." God granted Satan permission to afflict Job physically, but Job's life would still be spared. And so Satan struck Job with painful sores, from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Job was covered in painful boils, his body ravaged by illness. He sat in a heap of ashes, scraping his sores with a piece of pottery. His friends, 3 men who had traveled far to comfort him, arrived to find him in this wretched state. At first they were silent, overwhelmed by the sight of his suffering. But soon they began to speak, offering their counsel. They told him that surely this suffering was a result of sin. "God does not punish the innocent," they said. "Repent, and perhaps God will show mercy." Job's heart was heavy with pain, yet his conscience was clear. He knew in his heart that he had not sinned in any way that would deserve such suffering. His soul cried out for an explanation, for answers to the questions that swirled in his mind. Why had this happened? Why was he suffering so terribly when he had been faithful to God? Yet even in his questioning, Job did not lose his faith. He knew that only God had the answers, and though God was silent, Job would not abandon him. "Why is this happening to me?" Job cried out. "I have been faithful. Why do you allow me to suffer?" And then, after many days of silence, God answered Job, not with direct answers, but with questions that humbled him deeply. "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know." God's voice thundered from the storm. "Have you ever commanded the morning to appear or caused the dawn to know its place? Do you send the lightning bolts on their way? Who provides food for the raven when its young cry out to God?" Job was left speechless, overwhelmed by the magnitude of God's power and wisdom. He realized that his understanding was limited, his perspective too small. God's ways were beyond comprehension, and though he could not understand his suffering, Job knew that God's purpose was greater than anything he could fathom. In that moment of humility, Job repented for his questions, for his doubts. "I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted," he said. "I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know." Job in his suffering had learned to trust not in his own understanding, but in the wisdom and sovereignty of God. God, in his mercy, restored Job's fortunes. His health was renewed, and he was blessed with even greater wealth than before. His family was restored, and he lived to see his children and grandchildren grow up. Job's faith had been tested, but it had emerged stronger than ever. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Subscribe our channel, All the Great Stuff, for more uplifting content.